So when we think about sleep loss and we think about the consequences, we really sort of need to think about sleep loss, whether it's acute sleep loss, something that has happened in maybe just a couple of days, or if it's chronic sleep loss, things that have happened maybe over the course of a semester. So when we think about acute sleep loss and the chronic and the consequences of that, we're really thinking about things like a mood, you're not quite so happy, your brain's going to be foggy, it's going to be harder for you to actually listen, learn, acquire information, and remember it. When we're thinking about chronic sleep loss over the course of the semester, that's where we really start seeing some physiological changes. So we'll see some hormone shifts, you're going to be hungrier, your appetite's not going to be as controlled as well, so there we go with freshman 15, right? And then also your immune system is going to drop, and so you're more likely to get colds. We also long-term start looking at increased risk for diabetes and heart disease. So that's really some of the consequences that we see when we're looking at either short-term or long-term sleep loss over maybe just a few days or over the semester or years in college. So stress levels, when we're thinking about the lack of sleep, is we're really, we need to think about it from not only your emotional strength and thinking about your stress levels with your emotions, is that we're really also looking at your physiological stress levels. So when you have lack of sleep, then your physiological stress hormones will go up, so you'll have cortisol levels will increase, and that will negatively impact your overall health with that. But then also, because you tend to view the world in more of a negative way when you have poor sleep, it makes it easier to have more of an emotional stress response to your everyday life, that you might not even respond as intensely and aggressively as you would if you had slept well being faced with the same situation. So sleep definitely negatively impacts our ability to interpret the world in a positive way, as well as our ability to be able to physiologically respond in not so much of a fight or flight response. So one of the things that when we have poor sleep, we become really bad judges of our performance and our ability to be able to function well. So when we drink alcohol in our society, we begin to understand that taking in of that alcohol will negatively affect our ability to function. So it impairs us. So we tend to almost expect that we're going to have an impairment when we drink alcohol. But when we don't sleep well, actually the more sleep loss that we have, the less good judgment we have about our abilities to function. And so we will drastically and dramatically underestimate our poor functioning when we don't sleep well. And this can be just with one night of 4 hours of sleep. So cramming for the finals and so forth, we actually begin to think that we're functioning better than we really are. And we don't have that capability to be able to capture that inability to function as well when we're poor sleep. So when we think about sleep and how much sleep someone needs, we really have sort of been struggling with that as scientists, because we don't really understand exactly why people sleep. We understand what happens when they don't sleep enough, but it's hard to really sort of know how much is enough for everyone. So generally the expectation is between 7 hours and 9 hours is a good window. So we got together a bunch of sleep scientists from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, as well as the Sleep Research Society. About 15 world-renowned scientists came together to try and figure out, rather than giving people a range, what's the optimal number of hours of sleep that someone needs to be able to function and be healthy as an adult. And they came to the conclusion that 7 hours is a good number for adults. But we really also sort of need to understand that what is not enough sleep. So the other big body of research that we understand is that if we get less than 6 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period of time, so it's not just in one bulk at night, in a 24-hour period of time, if we get less than 6 hours of sleep, we have increased risk for negative physiological, psychological, social impacts on our lives. And research that's out of Stanford really shows that genetically only about 3% of the population can sleep 6 hours or less and not suffer those negative consequences. So that means 97% of us really need to have at least 6 hours of sleep per night to not suffer those negative consequences. Now, as far as when you should sleep, we really sort of need to think about sleep is captured. So if we move through a sleep phase, that takes about 90 minutes to move all the way through non-REM and REM. So if we can package those 90-minute segments and get 3 or 4 of those 90-minute segments together, then we get some good quality sleep. And then if we can capture another 90-minute or a couple of 90-minute sections later on in the day in a nap, then that's going to be helpful too. So we generally try to tell people to nap in the first half of their day rather than in the second half of their day, because if you nap in the second half of your day, you're less likely to feel tired when you need to go to sleep at night. And so thinking 90-minute segments and trying to package 3, 4 of those together in your main sleep, and then try to get another couple of them later on in the day if you can't get 8 hours at one time.